On January 30, 1994, the invasion of Space Mafia begins, an intergalactic crime syndicate of alien invaders capable of possessing or invading human beings by force. By doing so, they are able to make quick escapes from host to host, and with Earth tearing itself apart by means of pollution and war, the Mafia chooses the right time to start acting. They took advantage of the lowering of everyone's guard, and Japanese government establishes an elite police organization known as Blue SWAT. However, their chief is possessed and demolished their building of operations, killing all members. The three survivors, Sho, Sarah and Sig, form their own private detective-like agency to continue their mission, while one of them, Sig, reveals to be an alien from a planet destroyed by the enemies. He possesses the body of a dead man called Go, while Gisp, a space mafia commander, possesses the body of Go's son, who was in a comatose state. Blue SWAT deviated from the metal hero trend by using a realistic vibe for the series instead of fantastic, over-the-top action by focusing on the martial arts and gunplay aspects of the series. While the mood of the series appealed to the genre's adult fanbase and older viewers, the show wasn't well received by children, which resulted in a change in a lighter tone midway through the series, like in EP 23 of July 3rd, when we met Gold Platinum. He is a good alien who cannot remain on Earth for many hours, due to the restoring force of the space-time wall. He arrives on Earth through a space-time rift when he senses Sho's anger, giving him, 10 weeks later, he uses his powers to alter the hero's costume, creating the power-up known as Hyper Sho. Another incident happens to the leader of the trio, who in episode 37 on October 9th, ends up on board a spaceship just when the queen of the Mafia, Mademoiselle Q, begins to make her presence felt on Earth. 12 EPS later, on January 15, 1995, Gisp is finally defeated after trying to take power from his queen, who was kidnapped along with Sig. Mademoiselle Q is eliminated 2 weeks later by attracting a comet to hit the planet, but Gold Platinum sacrifices himself by destroying himself along with the celestial body. In the last episode, he leaves the message that if everyone's wishes are gathered, his new self will be born again as a crystal from people's prayers for peace. On February 5th, this Mafia is replaced by the Jamal Empire, insectoid beings from another dimension led by Garome, a monster born from a space warp and roamed space until he gained enough power to rally his minions, Mercenary Army Commander Jera, Combat Mecha Army Commander Schwartz and Synthetic Beast Army Commander Gigaro. Their goal was to capture Saint Papilia, a legendary butterfly of life, sent by the Will of Light, who can grant immortality. Then the Sage Guru, elder of an insect tribe, creates an alliance with the humans of Earth Academia to create suits of armor and giant vehicles to combat the threat with a team called Bee Fighter. On EP 19 of June 11th, Garome summons Jaggle, a sorceress that extracted DNA from the Blue Beat, Takuya, to create Shadow, an evil twin who could transform into Black Beat. 3 weeks later, Ray, a Riddle from the Bee Fighter team, left the team going to Earth Academia's South American branch to do research and help with protecting the wildlife there. Her powers chose the young Mai Takatori to be the new Riddle. Then on EP 35 of October 8th, we met our fourth hero, Kabuto, Guru's son who left his father 100 years ago and has been traveling across the dimensions as a supplier of weapons and equipment. Very childish and naive, Kabuto returns to Earth to visit his mother's grave, often trying to be a hero, only to put himself in danger. In EP 36, he gives Takuya a new weapon that resonates with his fierce anger, causing him a power-up known as Metalphosis, giving rise to the powerful Super Blue Beat. 11 EPS later, on January 7, 1996, Gigaro imbues himself with vital energy destined for the Jamal Hole to strengthen himself, but ends up defeated by Takuya, and finished by Garome himself, who wanted to take advantage of the energy stolen by his subordinate. The following week, Schwartz is revealed to be a computer virus with a mechanical body, also being destroyed by the heroes, although his head survived and took control of various objects on Earth. Fortunately, this immortal head was launched into outer space to orbit the planet for all eternity, and finally, in EP 51, Saint Papillia appears when attracted after Jerome tried to suck out the world's atmosphere, but ends being defeated alongside Jera. Besides them, Shadow also sought out the Saint to become immortal. Since Black Beach was short-lived clone, then Takuya had to destroy his copy at all costs, dying in the process on last episode of February 11th. Fortunately, he was resurrected by Papillia, and during 2 episodes, we could see a team-up between Janperson, Blue Swat and B-Fighter. This occurs after Jagal returns and resurrects some Jamal monsters alongside Space Mafia's Queen and Tatiwaki Konzan's Bill Goldie. They all end up being absorbed by the witch to obtain a more powerful form, but she is still eliminated by the 3 teams of heroes in February 25. The following week, the next series begins, but in the franchise's timeline, there was a 5-year time skip, and the Earth Academia has become the Cosmo Academia, where Takuya works with Guru on a new generation of insect armor. The cause of this research is the threat from the Melzard tribe, an ancient race from prehistoric period that rises from an ocean floor's fissure. The new heroes chosen was the students Kohei, Kengo and Ran, who had to face the Empress Mother Melzard, that gives birth to monsters by eating a fossil with one of her tendrils and spitting it back out as an egg. Her subordinates were insect swordswoman Myra, and also Melzard's sons, dinosaur warrior Ryger and deep-sea fishman Dezel. 26 episodes later, on September 1st, Ryger is defeated and ends up petrified to death, while searching for the insect medals, devices that would create the Darkness General's B-Crushes the following week. To confront these new villains, he shows up to help new B-Fighter Yanma, a Mac Windy, a New York exchange student. Eventually the show explains that there are students from Cosmo Academy affiliations around the world who were chosen to be B-Fighters, and the second to appear is Genji, a Julio Rivera, in EP 30 on September 22nd. This Peruvian stands out for teaching the team the balance between machines and nature, being succeeded in the next EP by Li Wen, B-Fighter Min from China. He was a pacifist professor, who refused to get into the middle of the battle, but realized that it was necessary for the good of all. Finally in EP 32, on October 6th, we meet B-Fighter Ageha, a Sophie Villeneuve, a French violin genius and Kohei's future girlfriend. Attracted by the melody of the Astral Saber, Sophie's music was essential in awakening this powerful sword that was the key to the shell god Kabuterios. This giant robot is summoned after the meeting of the 8 insect medals in episode 35 on October 27th, when it is discovered that he and the other god Kawaga Titan were space warriors who fought a war many years ago and were swept into a vortex that defeated an evil foe and were encased inside Astral Saber and Geistax. The stag beetle shell god fell into enemy hands in EP 38, and 9 weeks later, on January 26, 1997, the old generation of B-Fighters joins the current team to face a monster that ends up murdering the Sage Guru, who tried to protect all the insects of the world. On the next week, Diesel, with a new form from the darkness of the deep sea, found the B-Fighter's base of operations, assuming NA Professor form to activate the self-destruct function along with a virus to spread to the other branches. On the same day, he is killed by the heroes, who also eliminate the B-Crushers Killmantis and Bizak, and in the next episode it is Mukadelinge's turn, while Mother Melzard uses rain to implant bombs in all humans in a scheme to wipe out the entire population. As she was a descendant of the Will of Darkness, and fell into a slumber shortly after birth, she evolved into a larger monster and gained a new form, Jado Mothera, going on a city-smashing spree while overpowering Kawaga Titan. She was destroyed by the 2 giant robots, and in the last episode, of February 16th, her son Ryger, even tough in a new form empowered by the magma deep within the earth, dies alongside his rival, the last B-Crusher, D-Scorpion, and with Myra too. At this point, some of you may have already realized that I'm not going to include Kabutak or Robotak in this playlist, and you're going to be irritated by this. But as the objective of all these videos was to summarize the most important episodes, it's impossible to do that with these 2 shows. Which are pure comedy, more childish than usual for a tokusatsu, with little script or significant introductions. The only connection to the previous series that we see is the team-up between Kabutak, Takuya and Kohei in the epic Christmas battle special. It must be borne in mind that the term Metal Hero was originally created by fans and not by Toei, only being made official many years later for convenience, and was not something planned or defined until their return in films such as Super Hero Tyson Z and Space Squad, both ranging from Gavan to B-Fighter Kabuto, with no mention of Kabutak and Robotak. In other words, in the beginning there was no franchise, but rather a space on the TV Asahi channel for these Toei heroes that followed a different format from Super Sentai and Kamen Rider. So for me, we end this playlist here. I hope if you liked it. I sent it to a friend who might like it. Leave a like and see you next time. Yarnaa.